Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome to another video. So today I want to jump into quite a simple video. I know sometimes that when we shoot content for, say you're shooting long form content for YouTube and then you want to create it for Instagram, you're obviously going to have a bit of a problem where it's landscape and you want to turn it into portrait. So there's a couple of ways to get around this. Obviously nothing is as perfect as just shooting it in portrait in the beginning, because if you crop into your screen, then obviously you're only using 1/3 of your screen, but sometimes that's the only way around it. Especially if you're working for a client and that's what they want. So that's what I'm going to jump into today. So let's just jump into Davinci. I'm going to use this clip here. So it's just a clip I shot in Rome, and I'm going to try and repurpose this. Now there's a couple of ways you can do this. Obviously she is moving around, which can create some complications. I found that if I'm shooting someone who is kind of really still, then I wouldn't want to use, for instance, the smart reframe, which is unfortunately only in the pro version, because if the camera is really still and she's moving around, it's going to kind of track her eyes, and you don't maybe want that much movement. You kind of want the camera just to be still. So in which case I would just move the position, left or right, and keep the camera kind of where it is. I'll show you what I'm talking about in a sec. Let's create an actual timeline at the moment though. And I'm gonna make my whole thing, I would normally do this if I was gonna move in. This is 50 frames per second, make it 25. Where's 4K, 25? Obviously you can't make this 4K if your computer will struggle with it a bit, but I've got an alright computer, so I kind of like to edit on my 4K timeline. And I'm gonna make this 4K as well. That's all looks good. Okay, so I've created a new timeline now, and let's put my clip down there. I'm going to delete the audio because I don't need that. And as you can see, cropped in, it's not bad actually, because she's kind of in the center of the screen already. So if you have the pro version, obviously the best thing you can do is just go to smart reframe. If you do auto, it'll probably track. I mean, Davinci, all this AI that's inside, it tracks things really well. So if I go to reframe, see what it's done. So as you can see, it's positioned here. It'll try and position the eyes and the head around the middle. It's done a pretty good job there. And then I'd probably crop it there anyway, because it's not much in the end, which I'll do now actually. I wouldn't use that whole clip. So it's done a pretty good job there. So now you can do this manually as well. If you go to reference point and then, create a reference point around her eyes, and then go to reframe. You can see that the program there has very much tried to keep her eyes in the reference point, and it's actually moving around quite aggressively. So I actually preferred what it did with auto. It seemed a bit more smoother. But if I now just delete that and then just drag it on again. Now let's just say I have to do this manually because I don't have the pro version. What I would literally do is move the position there and then put a key point in, and you can see there she's moved again. So I'd kind of just press play and go along and try and keep her as in the center as possible. That little turn there, you kind of want that to be right in the middle, because obviously, and if you want, you can see all the keyframes here. You can highlight them all and hit this point here to make them all a tiny bit smoother. And this way it will kind of mold them one into the other, rather than hitting a point and then changing. It will kind of smooth the curves out between the points. So that's just kind of another way to just smooth it out. But as you can see already now, these points, it goes up and then down very sharp. So yeah, once again, if I add this, press this button here, you can see it smooths out the edges. So it doesn't make such harsh camera movements. But doing all that is basically what the auto reframe does, but you're just doing it in a manual way. If I click on reframe right now, you'll see that it basically adds all those key points in. And you can see obviously it adds a lot of key points in. So it's kind of basically just doing that manually for you. And then afterwards, if you actually weren't happy with what it did for you, you can go back in and kind of rejuggle them around to a point you're happy with them. The only other thing you could actually do, if the client didn't mind you, or if it's your own piece of work, which I do quite a lot, and you see it a lot on Instagram nowadays, or any other social platform, is they actually flip the piece of content. So you can go minus 90 degrees and then go 0.570, which is exactly on the borders there. And then you have it actually that way around. So if people want to just flip their screen while they're watching it, that's another way around it as well. I personally quite like that because obviously, like I said, you're not cropping in and only using 1/3 of the screen. So it's great. But anyway, that's a really quick tutorial for you. And as I mentioned, really try and shoot them the right way around originally. It does make things look a bit better. Especially if you're shooting, super wide and you've got those nice curves on the side. You really want to see everything. Obviously, cropping in is not great, but I can understand that sometimes it's not always, easy to shoot everything portrait and the landscape and all this, especially if you're doing client work and they send you the piece of content that's already shot in one specific way and they want it in another. So anyway, I hope that was useful. Please like, please subscribe, and I'll see you on the next video. Cheers.